on max. I'ma keep it going till there ain't nothing left. Going till there ain't nothing. Keep the flame on max.
Hello and welcome to Critical Damage, Emerson Channel's #1 esports talk show. I'm your host, Will Snyder, and I'm joined once again by Ian Copeland and Jack Ryber. We also have a very special guest at the desk joining us today as a Critical Damage first, the captain of the Emerson Esports League team, Eric Toalson. Eric, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's going to be awesome. So you're the captain of the league team here at Emerson. What does that mean to you to be the captain of such a big team in our esports organization?
Yeah, well, first of all, it means a lot, just because, since high school, I've been following kind of like the actual LCS, LEC, like pro scenes for League of Legends, the opportunity to kind of play on a competitive team, even if it's not like at the pro level, even at a collegiate level, it's super fun and super exciting.
But what about responsibilities? What do you feel you need to put forth to the team as the captain?
Yeah, so we have two teams here at Emerson, the A team and the B team, kind of based on their skill level, and I'm the captain of the A team. But in addition to that, I kind of like coordinate and manage players on both teams. So I handle any conflicts that may arise. I make sure people are showing up at practices, putting in their practice during the week when they're not like with the whole team. I'm organizing what we'll be doing at each practice and kind of finding tournaments for us to compete in as well.
So while it's definitely not at the pro level, you are still very much running it as if it were, taking it very seriously,
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
I very much admire. Now, I'd be lying if there wasn't someone at this table that is really excited that we have someone else to talk about league with.
It's about
Ian, I'm
time.
going to throw it to you and I'm going to back off.
Let's touch. You know, let's take a light dip into league before we get into the meat and bones. Because
Okay.
I think we're going to look at some X's and O's later. But you know what? What's your favorite skin line? Just
Ooh,
you seem like a fashionable man. So like, what you got?
It's got to be the Dark Star skin line.
Oh, outstanding.
My favorite skin is Dark Cosmic Jin.
Oh, that's slick. That's actually super slick. The traps.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know exactly what you mean. So we also have a lot of changes coming up to league in season 12.
Yeah.
How long have you been playing, by the way?
So I've been playing since the end of season 5, kind of around when the
geez.
Champion Echo came out.
Okay, wow. So you've been at this a while.
Yeah.
you know what Riot Games is up to. But we got, after the crazy item rework last season, we're getting a few more changes in the new items. Crown in the Rune King.
Yes.
Or Crown of the Rune Queen. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Shattered Queen. Which is a mage mythic that gives you a temporary shield that reduces your damage. So how do you think this will change things?
So I feel like Riot's intention with adding this item to the game, which first of all, I love that they're adding new items to the game, and we need more build diversity in the game right now. I think adding this item allows some of those more artillery mages to have a bit of a defensive option into champions like Zed, even Yasuo, Akali, to kind of let them survive the initial burst and win out on traits that they otherwise wouldn't. What worries me about this item is I think it's not going to be used for its intended purpose, and I think champions like Diana are going to use it, and they're going to get damage reduction when they dive into the enemy team, get a 5-man ult. They're not taking any damage because they have the shield.
That's true. I hadn't considered that. It's a great point. Especially about AP divers. Maybe Echo as well.
Echo as well, yeah.
So as someone who doesn't know the game much, I look at that clip and I just see like the ability to take no damage for a brief period of time. It seems quite overpowered. What is like, obviously Riot can be known for putting overpowered stuff in the game and just being like, hey, so what? So what kind of are some counters to it, or does it have any downsides so that way it just doesn't take over the scene?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think this is going to bring in a lot more of champions who rely more on poke in the laning phase. So champions we haven't seen in the mid lane very much, such as like Zyra, Galio, Vel'Koz even. We could see those coming back into the mid lane meta to poke down these champions that are wanting to take this, to be like, hey, you're not going to get this defensive shield very much because I'm just going to be poking you constantly.
Because Riot likes to shake up the game so often, how do you adjust to a new season?
Yeah, so the first thing I do is I always pay attention to any leaks or posts that Riot puts out early on. Like I've already been paying attention to preseason stuff. I follow a lot of Riot people on Twitter, for example, and they post changes that they're thinking about on there. And I kind of brief...
Riot devs on Twitter?
Yes, Riot devs on Twitter. And I kind of brief the team on like what's going on, what to expect. I also have a PBE account, which is a public beta environment where players can go on and test new changes before they come to live servers. So that's something I like to do with new champions that come out. I've already tested some of the new items
Okay,
on there.
I was
the
wondering.
New
I was about to
drapes.
ask.
Yeah.
So I've
Kind of
tested out these
insider.
changes, and while there's definitely tweaks I would like for to happen,
Yeah.
like it lets me kind of get ahead of it, and so that when it comes to live servers, I already know what's going on.
So you mentioned that you're a big fan of the pro scene, and I'm a fan of the pro scene in a lot of esports. And whenever I try to play those games, you always want to play them like the pros do,
Exactly.
even if you don't have those abilities. So do you find yourself, like, since you're at the collegiate level, trying to implement pro strats and metas into your games, or more just finding your own way through?
I kind of like to find like a healthy balance of both of sorts, because there's a very different meta in fives play as opposed to like solo duo queue in League of Legends.
That's
So
true.
chances are what pro teams are playing is what's good.
Mm-hmm.
So like we definitely practice what pro teams are playing. Like lately at the World Championship, there's a champion Yumi being picked a lot in the support role, and so we practiced that for a while. Although she's getting nerfed next patch,
Yep,
so we're
of course.
not putting much time into her anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But we definitely try to like find play styles that fit our team specifically and incorporate what's good into that play style.
So another item I wanted to talk about is the new Assassin legendary item.
Axiom Arc.
Axiom Arc,
Yes.
yes. I play a lot of AP champions, so you know I'm not a big fan of assassins. I don't think they need any more strength. But as an ADC main, you know the feeling as well. You know
I
the
do,
feeling of
yes.
just disappearing
In under a second.
just getting that gray screen. What do you think about this? What do you think about this for champions like Zed?
So it's an interesting item for sure. When you look at the stats itself, it's provides similar stats to that of like a collector who doesn't give you a ton of lethality, but
Yeah.
the passive itself is so good that it's just the reason you're taking this item. So champions like Zed are definitely going to be taking it. Champions like Talon, Kha'Zix probably, Rengar maybe. They're going to be champions that will be
see that.
looking to abuse this item. And I don't think it's going to, I guess, be an overall negative impact on the game state itself. I think it's a good item to add more build diversity for assassins, because right now assassins are kind of just building the same like 3 items of like your lethality mythic
Yeah.
plus Ghostblade
Plus-
and collector.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's going to be nice to have a bit more build diversity depending on, oh, I'm really near my ultimate to secure these kills. I'm going to take this item instead of Ghostblade.
Well, again, it all comes down to how powerful these items functionally are.
That's
Because,
true.
again, we may still see a bunch of Ghostblade next season, anyways. But new dragons. Let's start on the Hextech Drake.
Yeah.
You've played with these dragons. You've played with the portals. The ones that go across the river are absurd to me. At least they seem. What do you think about the changes?
So specifically with the Hextech Drake itself, it adds a very new kind of aspect to the game that you can get ganked from new angles.
Yes.
So laning phase, suddenly if the map like goes out during the laning phase suddenly became a lot more dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
You can suddenly get flanked by the jungler from behind your turret. You can get dived a lot easier. So it just, I feel like really emphasizes the importance of having vision in those crucial areas.
Do you think that's going to push ganking in like the metagame more? Like you're going to see that
Absolutely.
more often?
Yeah, and right now we do see it a lot, but I think it's going to push diving a lot more specifically to where people aren't really going to be able to play safe under their turret anymore.
Is that a good counterplay for ganking?
I don't think so. I think this is a very risky thing to do, and champions that are already really good at dives, like Volibear, they're going to just kind of take over the jungle meta a lot more, and bot lane is going to be a lot less fun to play.
I feel like you're talking about this pretty nonchalantly. This seems like a pretty big change that's going to affect the way you have to think in game.
Well, nothing can really compare to the complete item overhaul from
Yeah.
last season, so this is a very like low-key preseason compared to last year.
Even in the update, they were talking about like, some days if a league is a house, you need to tear up the foundations, but there's time they're just adding some stuff.
Yeah.
Do you see it as that big? Do you see it as a smaller change or a bigger change?
I think it's definitely a smaller preseason than what we're used to. I mean, usually in preseason, historically they've either completely redone the item system or they've reworked like 20 champions at a time.
Yes.
So they're used to going big on preseasons to completely change the game, and this year they're not, which I think, I guess is a good approach for Riot because they don't want to break too many things. But I kind of wish they were adding 20 more items.
Yes, that would be nice because again, build diversity is
Build
low.
diversity, yeah.
Even as basically a Swain one trick, I know the items for specific situations, but like I have maybe 5 choices, like
Yeah.
max, and still it's a little bit silly. But the Kim Tech Drake,
Chemtech Drake.
The other Drake
yes.
that's being added.
This is the one I feel like is the problematic Drake that they're
Okay.
adding.
Okay.
Purely because of the soul. So the soul, for those that don't know, basically when you die, you are revived for a brief period of time. And you
For
are allowed
real?
to continue fighting and using abilities.
That's such a big setback normally.
Exactly.
When you die.
So this is previously something you could only get if you built an item called Guardian Angel, which would revive you, or if you were playing a champion called Scion, whose whole passive is that when he dies, he is revived for a brief period of time. And so this basically makes any 5v5 fight a 5v10,
Oh my goodness.
which is incredibly difficult. And
How long does this ability last for? So how long for when you get killed, do you come back?
so usually there's like a second or two delay, and then you respawn for about 3 to 5 seconds. Your health will rapidly decay, and obviously you can be killed again, so it can be faster.
And how
but-
long are you in the state of cannot be killed?
Oh, well, you're not
Or,
necessarily.
or
like-
you'll revive?
You'll be in that state until you revive and die again. Yeah.
So basically what it's going to become is that one team is just going to be running around looking for a fight while the other team is running and hiding because there's no way they can win
Pretty
that
much.
type of fight.
Yeah.
Oh my
you
gosh,
either
that's-
have to get really good at disengaging after you've won a fight, or you just have to be able to kill them twice.
Wow.
Which is easier said than done.
Exactly. Yeah.
Very well.
So I'm gonna paint you a picture right here. You're getting
Okay.
into a game. You're with your team. You're ready. What is that one champ that you look at in the eyes and go, no, banned?
It definitely depends on the patch. Right now, I've been banning Soraka. They recently buffed her ultimate. So in games, they have healers and stuff, and they have this thing that you can build that reduces healing on enemy champions. And they just buffed this champion's ultimate to remove any healing reduction on enemy champions before the heal is applied. And so since then, that champion has just been running over my games. Don't want to deal with it.
And this is in solo queue? Or
That's
is this in
specifically in solo queue.
Yeah, yeah.
In fives play, we usually ban pole champions, just
yeah.
because it's really hard to play around that.
Another big aspect of League is the teamwork. Obviously, you need to be in constant communication. Do you find you guys do any like activities or anything to build like chemistry within the team, just to like little fun activities, just to
Yeah,
have more?
absolutely. So like obviously you get more comfortable with the team the more you play with them. So we try to play as much as often, even if we're not in practice a certain night. If people are on, we're just like, hey, want to play like a casual game or two, or there's like fun game modes that are rotating. But also we like to just like go and have fun sometimes. Like we've had watch parties for the World Championships right now. We go and
That's
get boba
fun.
a lot.
Well, Eric, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for you today. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're going to take a commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about history's greatest esport, Minecraft. You won't want to miss it. Welcome back to Critical Damage. All right, fellas, the Minecraft Championships, the 18th Minecraft Championship just passed. Yes, you heard that right, the Minecraft Championship. You may have not known that Minecraft has a competitive esport, but I'll have you know, it sure does.
What?
It sure does.
That's the
So
worst
let
thing.
me give you a rundown. let me and my new best friend here give you a rundown. The way it
What
works
the hell is
that
that thing? Is that supposed to be a cat?
this is my new best
I
friend. You
haven't
got a
played
problem with
Minecraft
it?
since 1.6,
about
dude.
me,
You gotta. since beta 1.6. All right, Will,
So,
what's
so
Minecraft?
clearly I need to do some catching up for you.
Please.
So the way the Minecraft champions work is that 10 teams of 4 are put into a bunch of different games that are select of, I believe it's a pool of 10. They select 8 randomly, and it's made to test all aspects of the game: the building, the creativity, the PvP, the parkour, the movement. It gets very technical, and you actually see some of the best players play the game that they love at a high level, which is really entertaining.
Is what's his name, Dream, involved in
Dream
this?
is involved in this, yes.
Sounded
Dream,
like a boomer,
from what I remember.
I
What's
don't.
that Dream whippersnapper?
You know who
Is this
Dream
tournament?
is?
What is it? I wrote
So,
notes
yeah,
for
so
this. I
Dream-
wrote notes for this. What is build march? Can you please explain what build march is?
Here, let me start with your first question. You're throwing at me kind of fast. Let's slow it
sorry,
down.
yeah.
Let's slow it down.
All right,
So,
you got this, you got this.
Dream won, I believe, both Minecraft Championships 16 and 15, and then has lost the last 2. He is known as one of the best players in the world. But the way it works is that if you win the tournament with your team of 4, you can no longer enter as that team of 4 again to have too many repeat winners and have more mix up. You'll see the way the teams are composed. It'll normally have 1 or 2 actual people who play Minecraft for a living, like Minecraft YouTubers. Then a couple more that are like YouTubers in general, but also play Minecraft as like part of their content. And then maybe 1 or 2 that don't play Minecraft. And then so they're like, as captains, have to like help them learn. Like, people take this very seriously. The teams, like, they'll practice beforehand each of the individual games. As we'll see, some of the technical ability here coming out from Dream himself. This is to get to the other side where he plays first in by a mile. It's a bunch of maps where you just have to go across as fast as you can, knock players out of the way. And you just can see a lot of good technical ability here because, like, the way the game works is it's not easy to move this way. It requires a lot of, like, strafing as well as just precision movement. And if you've ever tried Minecraft parkour, you know it's not that easy.
Oh, yes.
So
I
to be
know
able
that
to
much.
be able to do this at a high level, this consistently, especially with all the randomness of people hitting you, it is really that's what impresses me the most, is that it's not just a race where it's just no collision. You actually have to like improvise and adapt.
That's a
As
great
we see,
test of,
like I put
awareness.
the scoreboard here, he had over 400 more points than the next person in that event, and it was really, really impressive. There's other aspects of it though. We're now going to look at Puns and his amazing plays. This is one of the earliest games that they played. This is Hole in the Wall, and the way it works. Have you ever seen the show Hole in the Wall?
That was my
Yes.
favorite show.
So they
back
play
in the
3
day.
rounds of this. The walls get faster and faster. He took first place in 2 of the 3 rounds. There are 40 players in it, and he took
So-
first place in 2 of the 3.
I miss knife serving. I miss CS:GO knife serving.
Even CS:GO knife
Is that
serving.
what that reminds you of?
This reminds you of CS:GO knife serving.
Well, a little bit, but like this is just so bewildering to me. Forgive me, because Minecraft I know is like, oh, there's grass and there's blocks and like now there's like lines of code going in the bottom left. Forgive me for being a boomer. Forgive me for being a Minecraft boomer here. So, grid runners. What is grid runners?
So the way Grid Runners works is that it's about a series of like micro. Have you ever played WarioWare?
Yes, I have.
So you know how like instead they're micro games. So you go
Okay.
in. So there's about 10 like rooms you have to complete. That are puzzles, and each one will each time you go through a room, it sees how much time you spend in there.
Okay.
And then whoever did each room the fastest wins.
Okay.
And it's just all a point system. The whole point of it is to get a big variety of games. So we've talked a lot about the parkour aspect and like the movement aspect. Now I want to look at the PvP aspect with Tap-Al in Battle Box,
Yeah.
which is basically like a hard point game mode in any sort of first-person shooter. This is Tap-Al with the this is his another form of to get to the other side with blocks. And again, it just shows the power of speed bridging and knowing the game very well. And we're gonna see
Being
him.
able to catch yourself like that's really impressive.
Exactly, the
It's
timing
really
is very
fast
impressive, and like
reflexes.
I said, there's so much of a randomness aspect, especially if we looked at it from the beginning. We'd see him getting hit around, which he then needs to recover as well.
Yeah.
So now that we've talked a lot about the movement aspect, which is probably one of the hardest parts, we're going to talk about one of the more fun aspects and
Yeah,
one of the more
and,
fun
like,
events of life.
Speaking of like Minecraft being like a fun, like it's a fun, creative, heavy game.
Exactly.
So them being able to spin competition out of it, I think is really impressive. Like I think it's a
Thank you.
They've
Thank
spun
you.
real competition and real like mini games outside of this like just like go and build stuff.
And you got to give a hand to the creators there because like the stuff they come up with as well as their ability to
That's
run it and
really
make sure it all
creative.
works is really impressive, especially when you've got such high profile YouTubers going into this that have hundreds of thousands of people watching them, and you need to make sure everything
And you
works.
can argue that's the magic of Minecraft. Like, that is creativity, is creating a game within a game. That is a piece of the
Exactly.
creativity that Minecraft is all about. So maybe Minecraft is by design a bit of an esport.
I'm not strongly against the idea of Minecraft being an esport. It's just that I remember Spleef. Does anyone play
I remember
Spleef
Spleef.
anymore?
Yeah,
I
no,
have
Spleef was
no
good.
clue what
Oh my
Spleef
gosh!
is.
They
you
used to
guys
have-
don't
so-
know what Spleef is?
No.
Okay,
I believe in
Spleef-
this event they used to have Rocket Spleef, which is, you heard me right, Rocket Spleef.
Okay, you know what? Admittedly, I'm the one who brought the Sailor Moon video game in
Yeah.
first episode, so I'm in no place
I was
to
gonna
judge.
say,
I'm
the
in
game
no
I
place
brought
to
in is the
judge,
most popular
alright?
video game of
But
all
no,
time, so like you
I
can't really talk
understand.
about that.
I understand. I just feel like I am wildly out of my element here. So is Mustard Mummies a team or an event?
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Okay.
We'll get
You
to
know
that.
what? We'll again
We'll get to
guide
that.
the
Like,
discussion.
I will.
Just because Minecraft doesn't have slobber knockers doesn't
my
mean
God.
it's not.
There's
a
If you
legit
want to see a
sport.
real
Perfectly
slobber,
good
if you
slobber
want to
knocker.
see a real slobber knocker, let's show Illumina getting back-to-back aces in Battle Box.
Aces.
Aces.
Aces. Like
Tennis?
Like
Valorant?
there's one. It's a 4v4. He gets one kill. He's moving around with the crossbow. Gets another one. Third, there's no armor in this. It's hard to survive. It's just all about your movement and being able to avoid being killed. That was one ace. Then on the next round, he's able to do it
camping,
again.
like peeking around the
He
corner.
takes-
There's
and
some
these are
legit
good teams
strategies
he's going
here.
against. He took down Tommy Innick. He took down Puns. He's now just going around doing what he wants and just being better than everyone. These are actual Minecraft players he's taking down, not just anyone. It's not like he's running around cutting the heads off chickens. He's actually just being a better player, and that's what I love about this stuff is that the better players win. Like
the
in many
skill
other
expression
esports.
is high.
What?
There's good skill expression.
There is, yes,
Okay.
for sure.
Okay.
100% as you,
So-
which you've ever seen.
But yeah. So you need the ability to build, and you need the ability to play a tactical shooter. You can hold things in your left hand in Minecraft.
You can hold
What
things
is going
Dual
on?
wielding, dude.
You can dual wield. You can have a
That's
crossbow here and a
twisted.
sword
Okay,
here.
wait. So there's a tactical shooter mode. There's a WarioWare mode.
Yes.
There's a
Hole in the wall.
Hole in the wall
Yeah,
mode.
from Cartoon Network.
This is kind of blowing my mind. I'm not gonna lie. I was skeptical at first. You're winning me over, Will. I'm not gonna lie.
Whoa.
Hold on.
Ian's
Pause.
changing his mind?
Hold on.
Listen.
Whoa.
If you hit me with something interesting, I'm gonna be interested. All right. You know what? I'm just a boomer who doesn't know anything. All right. I'm not gonna lie. So, listen. I'm down with skill expression in any form. And you know what? I'm being won over. What else does this magnificent? I'm not sure if I'm ready to call it magnificent yet. What else does this event have to offer?
I think you just did. Well, if you want to look at the more creative aspects of it, you have the game Build Mart, which you have teams that need to copy structures that they are given in a room, and then go out, get the materials, come back, and build it. It's quite simple, but it takes a lot of communication, and everyone hates it. This is the mode everyone hates just because it's like the least skill required, and it's really just about relying on your teammates, which normally would not be a problem, but remember, you're with a different team almost every event. So there's a lot less chemistry, I feel, involved in the teams as you would see in other esports, and it just becomes a lot of chaos. The best teams still normally win, but it does become a lot of chaos.
But so there's already 2 extra events, right? Why who organizes, who decides which events are in?
Are there
Oh,
the same
I'll
events
let you
every
know. I'll let you
year?
know. So,
Okay.
in between the events, there's like a minute of downtime, and then they go into what's known as the voting room, where they're all given an egg. They throw the egg at the event they want. The egg becomes a chicken. Whichever event has the most chickens in it is the one that's chosen. Why are you acting like I'm sounding crazy?
Listen,
They throw their
listen
chicken.
to what you just said.
throw their
Listen to what you just said,
They
Will.
throw the chicken into the
You say
roulette
like
wheel.
that's
They
not
throw
crazy.
the chicken into the roulette wheel, and if the event with the most chickens is the one that goes.
With the most chickens.
Yes. Well, one time in the event, like the Minecraft Championship, Twitter will like tweet out a vote so like the fans can poll, which is awesome to get some more fans
more
involved.
Yes, that I can- that's like, yes, okay,
At a
yes.
pinwheel.
What do you mean?
and
No,
then-
it is. It is. I feel no. That way is the most democratic. You're having all the players vote on what event they want. I feel like that makes sense.
Democracy dies in chickens. All right.
In Minecraft.
So what else? What else does this have to offer? I mean, we've talked about Dream. He's the
Well,
only
we
one I know.
talked about both like the shooter aspect that you
Okay.
mentioned, as well as like the movement aspect. Nowhere is that more prevalent in the finals, which is a game called as Dodge Bolt. Well, in this edition, it was Witch Bolt.
Dodgeball?
Dodge Bolt.
Dodge Bolt.
You heard me right.
Okay,
Dodge Bolt.
okay.
Fancy.
So the way this works is that both the 4 players on either side, it's like dodgeball but with arrows.
That sounds
Now
perfect.
the thing is when you're shooting you have to stand still.
Okay.
So you have to like move. So when you're not shooting, you just have to move around wildly, and it's a test of like aim as well as dodging ability. as we see here, Sylvie get 2 kills
Nice.
in her first ever round of dodgeball. She got that done.
First, like,
And then-
were you chalked up to beginner's luck, or was that like
Yes.
there was more going
And
on
then
there?
Yes, it is firmly beginner's luck.
sure, and
I
then
know there's-
and then
I
here
know-
we see the team leader
There's
Sapnap.
skill expression, right? But also
beginner's luck.
Here we see the team leader Sapnap as well as Tubbo just putting. This was a stacked team, just doing amazing things.
Why is he wearing a hot dog?
Why aren't you wearing a hot dog and taking the crowd?
Wait, mustard mummy?
Oh,
Wait,
Mustard
Because
mummy.
it's
Oh,
for
and
the
now we're at the
mustard
mustard
mummies.
mummies.
We've made it to the
We've
mustard
made it to the
mummies.
mustard
Yes.
mummies. So, like I said, this was Halloween themed. So normally, each team is it's like that they're a color, and then that's an animal in Minecraft. So like it'd be like pink parrots, or like I don't have any other alliteration for you.
Diamond dolphins.
Yeah, sure, something like that.
Wait, there are
Um,
dolphins
Purple
in Minecraft?
pandas.
Yeah, there are dolphins
Oh,
in
wow.
Minecraft,
Great.
actually. Yeah, so it'd be something like that. But for this, it was all Halloween themed. So like mustard mummies, and so green ghosts, just so on and so forth. So I love how they like put in a lot of effort into like making the event seem relevant with like the Halloween themes, and they'll do the same for when it's Christmas time. And it's just, I feel like the event's a lot of fun. It's not meant to be taken too seriously, obviously. There's no prize pool other than and bragging rights and like being immortalized in the event. But it's a lot of fun, and everyone enjoys it. We're going to take one more break, but when we come back, are Battle Royales viable esports, or are they just a different animal? Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Make up for it. Fires to the end zone. Touchdown! Alabama wins!
Step back. Walker. Carney and Kimba. Does it again. UConn. Right back there. All right. Walker win. Walker win.
All right, come back in 10 seconds. Ready, camera 1. Camera 1, get a wide shot of the entire thing, and in 3, 2, 1, take talent cue.
Welcome back to Emerson College. Emerson
Camera
trails
4, get a shot of the players moving across the court.
10 seconds left. Emerson trails by 1 point. As the
Camera
team
2, close on the
finishes
person
their
shooting.
timeout. Thanks, Joe. With 10 seconds left, Emerson is hoping to pull away and score this game.
Camera 1, get a close up, follow them over.
Emerson trails WPI 10 points. 10 seconds left. Emerson trails by 1 point as the team finishes their timeout.
Camera 1, close up on number 33.
Thanks, Joe. With 10 seconds left, Emerson is hoping to pull away and score.
Follow the ball, follow the ball.
Welcome back. To end the show, Apex Season 11 is arriving very soon, but with the release of a new season in a world of dozens of Battle Royales, the world is wondering, are Battle Royales true esports? Now, I don't know much about the Apex Legends season, so I'm not going to talk about it. Jack, what you got?
The new Apex, like you said, Season 11's coming out, and Respawn's putting in a new map, a new legend, and a new gun. They're even bringing back the Apex Legends Global Series with a bunch of esports teams to be a part of it. Respawn's doing all this work for Apex, but nobody seems to care,
Interesting.
like, at all.
So, also, how many seasons has Apex? So, how long has Apex Legends been out?
Oh, like
2016?
Nope, that's
Really?
2019.
2019?
19?
I think it was my senior year, 2019.
Jesus.
That's crazy.
All right. Well, that's the thing because it's season 11 and
Yeah.
it's been out for 2 years.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be honest. That's difficult to keep up with that many subdivisions of content. I
Yeah.
feel like you're gonna have to start dividing by year. I like what League does. At this point, they're just season 2022 or season 12, either one. But you know, it's once a year.
So there's all the content that they add to
Yeah.
it, but like maybe that's not it. Maybe it's the fact that it's a battle royale
Yeah,
is
that could be
why
it. That could be
it's not doing so hot right now.
The Battle Royale as an esport format, especially as a live streamed esport, has never really appealed to me. We saw it with the Fortnite Championship, where they tried so hard
Yeah.
to establish a competitive Fortnite scene, put so much money into it. But I feel like we don't see it anymore. And with Apex, how many teams? 20 teams of 3? That's
Yeah.
what, 60 players that you have to keep up with live, and they're all shooting at each other from places you can't
Yeah.
see.
The rule sets for this is something I didn't know about, is how battle royales even function. As like how do you even turn that into a competition?
Yeah.
I looked into it, and the rule sets are really, really interesting.
Okay.
So for Apex, it works by a single elimination. You have 3 matches per round, and teams progress by getting points through placement and getting kills.
Okay.
So like
So it's not just 2 wins.
no, it's not just 2 wins.
That's
So
what I
like
would be
if
worried
you
about.
so like your placement rewards points. So if you get like 17th place, you get 1 point. But if you get like 5th place, you get like 13 points. Victory Royale gets you 25 points. So while winning is very good, someone who places 17th but goes like crazy and kills a bazillion players could still wind up being
I see that.
right up there on the leaderboard. Top 20 teams are decided based on performance and then go on to compete in a 5-match finals tournament. And I think it's a really interesting way of progressing.
Okay. That does ease some of my concerns. Primarily, like, you're going to see a lot of camping, but I feel like you may see that either way.
Yeah, well, yes, camping is a huge thing in any shooters, but like also battle royales. It's
Prevalent.
players tend to keep it reserved and like hide and stay safe. I saw this one clip where an Octane used his bounce pad to launch his whole team onto a building where there were snipers and campers, and they were able to just completely rush them, and it was insane.
And
like,
moments like of aggression in the mid game are always really fun because that's when
Yes.
people are actually kitted. They're not just scrounging around for loot and fighting. But the problem is that most times they're not going to want to do that because those placement points that we saw are so valuable. It makes more sense just to survive.
that's true.
And
but
that is the truth with every battle royale. Now I want to make a quick comparison real quick for just the team composition of Fortnite compared to Apex. Apex, they actually have like teams that represent orgs, right?
Yes, absolutely. You got teams like Team Liquid, Cloud9, NRG, G2, your favorite, all being represented in these tournaments. But like what you were saying about like camping and like being reserved, like the nature of, or like aggressive gameplay rather, the nature of a battle royale, like the fact that the zone closes in and forces players together, by design promotes aggression.
I understand.
Like you can't not be aggressive at some point in the game.
That's
Obviously,
true.
at some point you have to take fights, but the fact that most of the game is figuring out how to avoid fights, because guess what? If you don't fight, you can't die.
But my primary concern would be the keeping up with 60 players. In CSGO, you can see everyone through in the spectating mode. You can see everyone through walls. There's 10 people to keep track of. There's a mini map that has everyone on it. I feel like that wouldn't be productive for most battle royales. Having that many highlights, that many dots on your mini map. Maybe it would be, but I'm
As someone who
concerned.
watched a lot of competitive Fortnite, I can tell you it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
There is a lot
You
to
know
keep
what's
track
going
of.
on with that one player, but you have no idea what's going on around them. You have no idea like who's in the lead. Only when you get like the overhead shots of the whole map. I'm just gonna keep using Fortnite because that's what I know.
Yeah.
You see who's on the high ground. You see who's on the low ground. You see health bars. So like that's good. Just knowing like that's where you get like a pretty big idea of where players are at. But I want to go into like the RNG aspect of it. Like you can say like it matters about what loot you get and stuff like that. I don't care about that. And good players can make do with whatever they have. Their skill is so high that having the difference between a good gun and a great gun is not going to matter a lot of the time. Because it's all about positioning and abilities.
Strategy and whatnot.
But the concept of the zone is so horrendous in terms of...
Do you think so?
Yes, especially because if you look at a game like Fortnite where the zone starts to move to like places that are outside of the zone, you kind of got to walk with it. Being in that, just being lucky enough to be in that front position will change everything. Don't you think
Okay, so that's the RNG you're worried about?
That is
Less
that
so
is
weapon
like the
drops
biggest,
and loot, and more so where the zone
more
is.
so positioning, because that's so huge. Because rotations are immensely important in battle royales.
When you drop and you know where the zone's going to wind up being, like they have like the white circle, and you know that's where the zone is going to be by
The
the end of the
first
game.
zone, the first zone.
So like there's a risk, right? Like are you going to drop where all the other players are going? Because that's where a lot of players, typically the good ones, tend to go towards the middle and fight for their home turf.
Okay.
Well,
Interesting.
let me ask you this. Hold on. So in Fortnite, it doesn't work like this, but in Apex, like you get the big zone. Is then the next zone in the center of that, and then
I
in the
believe so,
center,
and then it just shrinks. As far as I'm aware,
see, there you
it
see
just
in
shrinks.
that game, you know like where the zone is going to be, but in Fortnite, the zone can be in anywhere in that bigger zone, meaning that it's supposed to so that way people can't just hunker down in the middle and camp the whole time. They're not going to know where they need to be for the very end. But then that adds the aspect of you could randomly be on the opposite side of the map as where you need to be and have to go through a million teams in order to get there.
Another thing I'm concerned about specifically with Fortnite is things like fast building.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
visually, strategically, it doesn't seem that's appealing or engaging to me if you get shot at from somewhere you don't see and then you build a castle in 2 seconds.
Here's what I would say. Did you play the game a lot?
No, I have not.
So there's the difference. For me, it makes sense because I played it a lot.
Okay.
Whereas, so you're looking at the way I look at League.
Okay.
So I have no idea what's going on, so I don't understand how they know to do this or what makes sense or
Okay.
what anything
But would a
is happening.
spectator know is what I'm wondering.
What?
Would a spectator know is
A
what I'm
spectator
wondering.
of someone who
yes,
like, is
of
a fan
someone
of the
who
game?
plays
Yes,
Fortnite.
for
Okay.
sure. Yes, it's not that hard to figure out like what's going on and what they're trying to do.
Okay.
Because a lot of times, pretty simple. You want to get to high ground. You want to make sure you have control over the builds, and it's just a lot of positioning stuff.
One thing I could see working for battle royales, this would be a lot of man hours, and the thing is you couldn't do it live. But I think something like a reality TV show format, actually, because if
what?
you think about something like Big Brother, I know this is sounding.
Oh,
If you
okay.
think about something like Big Brother, you have 20-something contestants, and in post you cut out the parts that are interesting and you cut them together. Now this would create much less content and take way more man hours. But I think if you did something along those lines, or had in League, there's a directed camera if you spectate that automatically gravitates towards what it calculates as interesting situations.
Yep.
I feel like there is a way to make that work. It's just that it's a matter of being able to either create a system that enables that kind of focus on interest, or going in afterwards and putting in hours and hours and hours of editing to actually make an interesting tournament to view.
But then also, like, wouldn't it, like, you'd have to then have the players not reveal who,
Yeah, that's
like,
the
issue like
other
that,
thing.
you have to
That's
have
the
them
other
be
thing.
silent. So, but going back to, like, that style, it's like, what I love from those shows is, like, the drama. And we were talking about, like, with Apex, how it's teams. With Fortnite, it isn't. It's just a bunch of players. They can team up when they want to, and it leads to a lot of drama, which I find is very entertaining. Do you like that kind of stuff?
I'm still reeling from the fact that we're using Big Brother as an example to talk about esports.
That's fair. I kind of glossed over it. I didn't want to give it much attention.
But then you ran with it. You're like, oh, building off of that.
Yeah,
Let's keep using Big Brother to reinvent the battle royale structure for esports.
You understand where it's coming from. A huge number of competitors, and they can all be kept track of these little narrative plot lines. Again, not realistic at all.
It's not going to be that interesting.
No, I know,
though,
I
for a
know.
video game.
In theory, though, that would make for a much more enjoyable, like, spectator experience.
That's what I'm wondering, because
Here's the thing, you
that's
can
the
do that
problem
anyway.
we're all having with this.
Here's the thing,
it's a
that
spectator
happens anyway.
experience.
That happens anyway. You know,
Okay.
it's called a highlight video.
I
That's what
guess.
happens.
That's
Well,
yeah.
I want to know that, like, for the Fortnite World Cup, they uploaded both, like, the full game and then highlights from Game 3. So, like,
But do you have 100 clips of 100 players playing in Fortnite for like 30 minutes?
why would you want that?
would a-
Who would
No,
want
no,
that?
no,
No
no,
one
no,
wants
but
that.
like, no, I'm not saying watch that. I'm saying
No one-
how do you decide which highlights are going to be on stream? How do you decide which moments are going to be on stream?
Well, a
You
lot of
can't
times during
decide
the
that.
early game, they'll just, like, I'll just let you know how it works. A lot of
Okay.
times during the early game, they just follow, like, the best players, the most
Okay,
popular
sure.
players, just see what they're up to. They have a replay system as well. Like,
Yeah,
every
of course.
every view is getting recorded.
Yeah.
So, like, whenever there's a kill, they can go back and show it.
That's what I'm concerned about. That's what I'm thinking about still.
Do you think a battle royale of a smaller capacity? So like if Fortnite wasn't at like 100 players, it was more like 32, or like a battlefield type player size.
I
Do you
think-
think that would be a much more like manageable thing? You don't
Because
think
here's
so?
the thing, in Fortnite, and the only things that are interesting in most battle royales is the early game and the end game. The one because that's
the-
where
the
people are
middleman
fighting.
is
The middle game is
relevant?
it's not it.
And that's also why we haven't seen a lot of competitive Battlefield. Because,
Yeah.
again, that is also such a huge game. And it's why tactical shooters work so well. Because you have to keep track of 5 versus 5. And that's
They're very simple. Yeah.
They're super simple. And especially in games like CSGO or Valorant, where
Rainbow
the
Six,
kits,
baby.
where the kits are mostly the same. And Rainbow Six is different because it's like there's a lot of kits that you have to keep track of. But again, they all operate off that same principle of simplicity. It's 5 versus 5. They have guns. You know what guns do. Again, 60 players, too much. I don't see it working.
I mean, yeah. So, but the more players you go, the more action you get. But also, then like you get into the instances where lobbies are laggy and stuff. Like doing these on LAN with 100 computers.
Yeah, that's
has always been a
that's
struggle.
big deal is like how the connection works.
Yeah, and I feel like, I mean, Fortnite has obviously been the poster child for Battle Royale now just because of its success, but obviously there's a lot of difference in terms of each game. Well, that's all the time we have for you today. Thank you so much for joining us today on Critical Damage. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Critical Damage EC and subscribe to our YouTube channel. For Ian Copeland and Jack Ryber and Eric Toalson, this is Will Snyder signing off. See you next time.